Teachers of Reddit, what are the most annoying things that students do that you can't punish them for? I am a preschool teacher, so my biggest struggle is when one of my students tells me no or just refuses to do something, like walk down the hallway to lunch. You can't physically force a student to do something, so it becomes a game of waiting and or bribery. Giving the class directions and then having the kids that were goofing off ask how to do multiple things I already explained. Tiny, constant little lies. I had this one student this year whose first reaction to just about anything was to lie. Stop talking. I wasn't. Sit down. I am. Don't throw paper. I didn't. All things I could see clearly he had done, or my favorite, was doing. Like telling me he's in his seat when I am staring at him standing. Mostly I found it kind of funny, but occasionally it was so frustrating. I tried turning it into character building. Talk to parents, etc. But it was nearly compulsive, and it was useless to try to address, much less punish every lie. Anything based on tone of voice or subtle p-taking, it's hard to combat without sounding either utterly unreasonable or having to explain too much, and there's always the creeping doubt that maybe that's just how they speak. In my high school, kids were grouped together for classes. Okay, we were the nerdy kids. We had one kid who spoke really fast and some teachers couldn't follow. All the kids were used to it and could understand her just fine. Some teachers would just get a WTF look on their face. They tried to get her some speech therapy in 11th grade. You're too late. Walking into the class and saying, "Whoa, we have a test today? Mother, we just reviewed yesterday and the date is in 5 different locations." Having crappy parents. Once had a parent who complained to the school about my seating plan. I changed it because her daughter would not stop talking to her friend when I was teaching. She still didn't care. Use their phones in class. Technically I can punish, but it is not worth it. We are not allowed to take up phones, but can send a student to the office if they refuse to put it away. One of my teachers had a very sharp eye for this and could easily detect when students were texting, and she silently came up to them and confiscated their phones. In college, a couple of my professors had this policy. If your phone went off, you had to bring the class cookies at the next meeting. In Japan, I'm an assistant language teacher and in my classes the thing they all freaking do that I can't do crap about is nothing. They do nothing. They sit and stare at me like a pack of stunned mullets and there is nothing I can do about it. The really gutsy ones just straight up go to sleep. Ideally, their teacher, who is also in the room, should do something but they don't. In Australia, I was a primary school teacher and I hated the kids who had notes from home that requested the kids get some kind of special treatment. I get to take my shoes off in class cause I have a note from home. As a casual I really don't have a choice but to do what the note says lest a parent complains and I never get work at that school again, but it still ticked me off. Pack of stunned mullets is the best thing I've heard all day. I had a student once that asked me if he could fart in the hallway. I stared at him and said yes. So he went out there and let it rip. Everyone still heard him. Asking frivolous questions persistently when I am trying to finish teaching the content that I had planned to. I teach high school and I work with teenagers. You can't blame teenagers for acting like teenagers. My job is to work with them. It would be like a doctor complaining about having to deal with sick people. Parents, on the other hand, I usually expect to act like goddamn adults, or at least as mature as their kids. That's not always the case. Deny an act that I have already caught them in. Not even anything major, just small stuff like texting or talking. They will deny it until they die. I take this great opportunity to teach about character and what integrity means. It doesn't always sink through, but some of my students have never heard those words before, so any chance I get I take. Okay, I work as a janitor at a college and let me tell you what some teachers, not everyone by far, do that really bother me. They rearrange the furniture for group activities and never once ask the kids to put things back. Once or twice okay, but this not only inconveniences me, it fricks it for other teachers who have class in the same room 10 minutes later. They hide food everywhere. No big deal if in sealed bags. Huge deal when it's cookies and the ants come marching. They steal school supplies. All the time. Guess who gets blamed when crap goes missing? The janitor. I've never stolen one thing in my life. They switch class times or rooms on a whim. This sucks for you, but it sucks for me. 2. I have a tight schedule. The meanest English teachers, I mean the really meticulous ones that get bad reviews for being too harsh, they have to check your work with their own grammar cheat books that are from Amazon for like $5. That just bothers me on a personal level. Tell the students what book you're using, because obviously it's helpful for them to use it if you need to. If it works better than that $300 textbook, those students should know. They keep them stashed, but I clean their offices. They hide them behind other books. Maybe they don't want to look bad. When I do midday trash runs, while they're teaching, the books sit on their desks with little notes in them, often on top of papers being graded. By the end of the day when they have office hours, those books are hidden. They let you out late. This doesn't just suck for you. I get 15 minutes to clean an entire class tops. I've got a tight butt schedule. I actually love my job, but these things affect the students as much as it does me for the most part. We played this trick called plate tectonics. We would all move our desks forward throughout the period, but imperceptibly slowly, like an inch a minute, at most. Then when the teacher finally noticed, we pretended not to, cause we were always doing crap like this, we'd blame it on plate tectonics. I had an ongoing prank war with my students, well, the two classes that could handle it, my youngest class and oldest class actually. It was fantastic, though some of the other teachers that ended up as collateral damage might not have agreed. I'd probably give them a little extra credit for something that slick. I once asked my teacher 27 questions in one class period. I was being a shithead, but it was my revenge for her calling my parents previously for saying I wasn't paying attention. You did it right. I hate when kids do this, or that smart kid raises their hand to answer every question. We know, you know it. Let someone else have a try. Treat other kids like crap. I taught middle school special education and I couldn't exactly give detention for refusing to let someone sit with them at lunch. But goddammit you guys, is it really going to kill you to be nice to someone and let them sit at the empty seat at your table for half an hour? Spread rumors. Seriously, mean girls are the freaking worst human beings in a school setting. I'm not a teacher, but one of my good friends would always staple his assignments in the very bottom right corner, so that his English teacher would autopilot and staple the top left corner, thus preventing him from reading it. Veteran teacher here, 30 plus years. I learned a good while ago that punishment is counterproductive. It efficiently creates resentment and pretty much never affects long-term behavior, except to inspire students to not get caught. So, instead, I speak to students one-on-one, careful not to embarrass or put them on the spot, usually with some sort of golden rule query like what if everyone did that, or, if it's a bigger deal, I might say I'm pretty disappointed, big pause, and that's about as tough as I have to get. I hate being told what to do. Freaking hate it. I'm pretty sure a fair number of my students feel the same way, so I don't do that. Obedience is an efficient way to measure obedience, but it isn't very helpful in measuring learning. What I do works because my students, like me, I can't think of a more sophisticated way to write it. Adding an unnecessary comma. Guarara. Expect an A just for showing up and going through the motions. As for me, I show up once a week and take the tests about proving to you this is a triangle. One time my maths teacher gave me a detention for something pedantic, so I spent the rest of the class reflecting sunlight off my watch into his eyes, only for a few seconds each time, just enough to make him notice, before I moved my arm slightly and feigned ignorance. Yes, shallow and pedantic. Holding such fundamentalist religious beliefs that they challenge you will not to accept any lessons on science, psychology, or history that do not align with those beliefs. Watching them put up a mental wall, and watching otherwise kind and generous students shut down and turn into sullen and hateful creatures with every word you say, can be so frustrating. Not paying attention in class, getting straight A's and bragging about it all the time. We get it. You're smart. Now please be quiet and let me teach something to the kids who are not as smart. I teach middle school. Students asking ridiculous what if questions. I actually banned what if questions from my classroom. For example, We were discussing storms and weather and a student asks what if I was wearing 14 layers of winter coats but I was wearing a Viking hat, would I still be struck by lightning? Underperform. Nothing more annoying than having to spend resources on someone who is clearly capable of reaching the required levels to pass but flunked it because they couldn't be asked to spend the 30 minutes it would require for them to do so. It takes away time from the students that genuinely needs time and help. I hate repeating myself. It seems so simple and small but it gets annoying. Frequently asking to use the restroom at the start of class. I get it. Sometimes it sneaks up on me too. But I notice when you need to go more frequently than most. You just had 6 minutes of passing period. You're responsible for what you miss. What am I gonna do? Say no, getting a ton of replies about this one. So let me address them. If it wasn't clear, I don't turn people down. And I know you only have a few minutes. You're not the first students to have a passing period. I'm only in my mid-20s. I remember what it was like. Lie to their parents, especially about my class. Most recently, I got a flaming email sent to me with my appraiser CC'd about how this student came in after school twice a week to work with me but still failed the quizzes and subsequent test. Actually, your daughter came in twice the entire month, and once, it was to ask a single question. I seem to be generally well liked, so not many students go out of their way to annoy me. Some of the usual stuff would be too boring to post. I will say that I work in a higher income area with very little diversity. As a whole it feels like the students are a bit better behaved than the other schools where I've had experience. I say feels because I think they're actually just better at smiling for the camera. We definitely do have our problems that seem to be occurring behind the scenes where teachers can't see them. Apparently we've had a number of kids complain to the administration and counselors about racism and or homophobia, which took me completely by surprise. Only heard this in passing from my dep chair at the end of the year, but next year we're supposed to get briefed at the start of next year on what to be looking for. I hate being forced to grade reports following a rubric. I'd rather grade holistically. It bothers me because one student could write a beautifully crafted, concisely written report that forgets to answer one question and they'll get a lower grade than a student who writes a poorly worded piece of crap that basically lists the required material over the course of several unnecessarily wordy pages. It's unfair to the student who can communicate better, which is a very important skill in the scientific community. I'm not a teacher though. Sharpening their pencil multiple times during class. First of all, it doesn't need to be razor sharp for each note. Secondly, I know you're breaking the tip just because you're bored and want to walk by your friend. Finally, if you don't firmly grasp the pencil and it spins while you sharpen, you're going to end up with that crappy result of a wood point on one half your pencil. Don't tell me the pencil sharpener is broken. You just don't know how to sharpen a pencil. Like this video and this good bee will play you a nice song. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.